Hello, welcome you all for this next session. And in this session, we'll be focusing on the assignments related to multithreading. So let's go with the first one. Here, write a Java program to create a thread by extending thread class and display the name of the thread 10 times along with the main thread's name. Now in theoretical session, obviously, while going with this assignment section, I'll recommend you to go with the theoretical notes that we have already written into our notebook in theory sessions. So we know that there are two ways of thread creation. One is by extending the thread class and another one is by implementing the runnable interface. So in this case, we'll be using the first methodology of creating the thread by extending the thread class. So let's move ahead. So in this case, I'll create a new project and we'll give the name as multithreading. Okay. And inside this, I'll go with a new package. Let's say it's package 1. And inside package 1, I'll create a class known as thread demo 1, right? Okay. So let's move ahead. Now the first task that we have seen, like, let us try to find out, are there any threads with respect to this particular program? So in this case, we go with sysout as name of current thread is plus we have seen thread class, uska एक static method hai, that is current thread, and we go with the get name as a method of this, right? So अभी जो currently thread run हो रहा है उसका नाम ये display करेगा. So let's see. So it goes on displaying the name of the current thread, that is main. तो अभी तक के जितने programs हम लोग run किए, all were having the thread, and obviously that thread's name was main thread, right? If I want to print the name of the main thread for 10 times, what I'll do is for integer I is equal to 0, I less than 10, and I plus plus. And this will go on printing the name of the thread main 10 times, right? Okay. Now what I'll do is, I want this thread to go to sleep for almost 1 second. Here I need to specify the long value, which goes with milliseconds. So 1000 milliseconds is 1 second. So thread will go to sleep for 1 second after each iteration, and it suffers with the unhandled exception of type interrupted exceptions. So we can surround it with try catch, right? Okay. And if I run this code, I'll be able to see that main thread is getting executed and printing its name for 10 times after the interval of each second or 1 second each, right? Okay. Now from the main, I would like to create one more thread. So to create a thread, the first step is write a class which will extend java.lang.thread class. So java.lang.thread class, and override its method, that is public void run, right? So thread के life में उसने क्या code execute करना है, that code must be written inside the run method that we know, right? So in this case, what we need is, we want that this thread should go on printing its name 10 times. So I'll say name of current thread is plus, we'll go with thread dot current thread dot get name, right? And I want to do it for 5 times or 10 times. So I'll keep it in the for loop. Integer I is equal to 0, I less than 10, and I plus plus, right? Okay, and I'll ask each thread to, I'll ask this thread to go to sleep for 1 second after each iteration. Right. Okay. So when I create a class, I must create an object of the thread class, right? So here inside the main thread, I'll create the object of my thread. T1 is equal to new my thread. In theory session, we have seen that it's not like just you are creating an object of the thread class and it will start its execution. So in this case, what we need to do is, if we check it, हम लोग चेक करके देखते हैं. T1 dot is alive. And I mentioned in the theoretical sessions that when you create a new thread, it is in the new state, and the new state is considered as not alive state for the thread, right? So let's see the execution wise. So it says that the thread is not alive. It gives me the value as what? False. And it is running the main thread, right? Now to start the thread execution, what we need to do is we need to call a method known as start, right? And start ke baad it converts, it moves from new state into the runnable state. And once it gets scheduled, it will start its execution. So after the start, the thread is always alive. So वो भी हम लोग check कर सकते हैं by printing what is it, right? Okay, and let's give the name to this thread. As through the get name, we can get the name of the thread. Similar to that, through the set name, we can set the name to the thread also. So I'll go with my thread as a name of this thread. And let's see how this works. So please see now, it becomes alive. And along with the main thread, it starts its execution. So it's not always the things that you will get it in alternative domain, because in this case, you will find the main thread followed by my thread is running, then main thread is running twice, then my thread, like that, right? Okay. So I hope ki these things are clear. Once we run it again, it may happen that you may get some different sequence for execution of this. And we know the reason that the thread priority scheduler, JVM thread scheduler, is working on a priority based scheduling, and as a programmer, we do not have a control onto it. So it goes on executing the thread which is getting scheduled by JVM thread scheduler, right? Okay, so this is the first way that we can go on creating the thread. But the thing is, like, if we go on creating the thread by extending the thread class, then we lose the chance that this particular class cannot extend something else. So the most appropriate way for the thread creation is the next method. And next method is write a Java program to create the thread by implementing runnable interface and display name of the thread 10 times along with the main thread. So instead of creating a new program, I'll try to create one more thread within the same program itself, right? So here I'll go with one more class. Let's give the name of the class as myRunnable, implements Runnable. Runnable is an interface provided by java.lang. As we know that when we try to implement the interface, there is a burden for implementation of method, and यहाँ पे we get the run method, right? What we'll do is I'll just copy the code that we want this thread also to go with the same code of execution. It should go on printing its name 10 times, right? By keeping the interval of 1 second after each iterations. So now when we are creating the thread by implementing the runnable interface, then at that time construction of thread object is somewhat different, right? So please observe this. So here I need myRunnable R1 is equal to new myRunnable. And in this case, R1 is not a thread, because please observe, it's not giving you any method which the thread is in need of. Is alive method iske paas nahi hai, right? So R1 is not a thread. It's an entity which runs like a thread, because it also has the run method, right? So we need to create a thread class object. thread T2 is equal to new my thread, and here we need to pass R1. So my plain request in this case is JVM, please create a new thread, and for creating this new thread, take this R1 because this guy can run like a thread, right? So that is what the request is. Let's give the name to the T2 thread also, and we'll be using set name method, and let's give the name as my runnable, and let's ask this thread also to start its execution, right? And please see now, all the three threads are running in parallel way. Not necessary that they should get executed in the same sequence, as we discussed during the theoretical session about that the thread scheduler is going to take care of execution of this. So scheduling is not under the control of the programmer, right? Okay, if I run it again, it may happen that I could get some different sequence. Please see. Right. So you can definitely try out at your place by executing it for multiple times to check whether you are getting the same sequence or you are getting different sequences of this, right? Okay. Now let's move into the next one. And as we cannot have the control onto the thread execution, that's why we have seen that there are certain methodologies through which we can give at least certain guaranteed behavior, right? Okay, so the next code will try to give the guaranteed behavior by using join method. So we have seen like one thread can decide to join at the end of another threads. So in the same code, I'll show the demonstration of how the joining method is working. Now I am under the main thread, and is main thread said T1 is started as well as T2 is started. So main thread is the originator of T1 as well as T2. So in this case, what I'm going to do is, यहाँ पे जब मैं ऐसे लिखता हूँ T1.join, right? I am writing this particular instruction inside the main thread. So current thread, which is main, wants to join at the end of T1. इसको ऐसे read करना है. Main thread wants to join at the end of T1. Obviously, its joining decision can be interrupted by the JVM thread scheduler. So it is going under try catch block because it's a checked exception. So either we need to handle it or we need to declare it, right? So next is T2.join, right? So main thread wants to join at the end of T1 and T2. So in this case, we are willing to go with something like this. Let the T1 and T2 gets executed, and then the main thread will proceed for its execution, right? Let's check out the outcome. Please observe now. Printing of the main thread is not happening because main wants to join at the end of T1 and T2. And once T1 and T2 execution is complete, and then main starts its execution. Right. So printing of the main is happening at the end of the T1 as well as T2 because main has taken the decision of joining after T1 and T2, right? But we know that join and yield method, they are not giving us 100% guaranteed behavior, right? So to achieve the 100% guaranteed behavior for executions of the thread in a particular order, we need synchronization process. So next code will be heading towards the synchronization among the threads. So let's see the next one, and this is related to the thread priorities. We have seen in theory sessions that what are the different thread states and how the JVM thread scheduler works. So we have seen in that JVM thread scheduler always works on preemptive priority based scheduling, and we can set the priorities with the set priority methods and get priority with get priority methods. We have three static variable defined. One is normal priority, one is minimum priority, and the other one is maximum priority. So let's see like how we can set the priorities and accordingly how JVM thread scheduler is going to work. So in this case, I'll just create a new code, and that is thread priorities. What we'll do in this case is we'll be creating a new thread, class, let's say my thread 1 or my thread extends java.lang.thread class, and it goes on overriding the method known as public void run. And what we'll do is, in this case, we'll just go on printing thread dot current thread. That's it. Right. And inside the main method, we'll set, first check like what is the priority of the main thread. Main thread priority is plus thread dot current thread dot get priority. And when we check the main thread priority, it's a normal priority, that is priority number 5. So what we are going to do in this case is we'll be creating 3 threads. My thread T1 is equal to new my thread. We'll say T1 dot set name is equal to, let us say the first thread, and T1, let's say set priority is equal to 2, right? We'll copy these 3 lines. We'll paste it twice. Here I'll be creating another thread, and let's set its name and priority. So I'll go on setting its name to second, and let us assume that its priority is 7, higher than the first one. Let us create the thread number 3, where I'll be setting its name as well as its priority. So while setting its name third, and let us set its priority to the maximum, that is 10. Right. Okay. And then I'll start first T1. Then I'll start T2. And T3. So main is starting all these 3 threads. So in this case, obviously, according to the priorities, they should run. So let's see. Let's see like what it says. A wrong name to the thread. My thread. Let's see what is the issues. Okay, my thread class is already present in this. So what we'll do is I'll keep the name as my thread 1. Right? Okay, and let's try to run this. Please observe the main thread priority is 5. As we are running all the 3 threads together, the first getting executed is the thread with the name as third. Priority is 10 and its parent thread is main. Main se wo create hua hai. Second thread is getting executed with the priority as 7 and it's also created through the main. And the third thread created, that is the first name and priority is 2, and it is also created with the help of main. I hope the priority setting and how the priority is, according to the priority, the threads are getting executed is clear. So let's see the next one, and this is thread synchronization. As we do not have the control on JVM thread scheduler, so sometimes we get the weird executions in case of multi-threading programs. So how to go on synchronizing the threads, that we need to understand. So this code will be synchronizing two different threads. And please observe the problem statement. Write a Java code to print the table of numbers using two different threads. Check it's working with and without the synchronization, right? Okay, so what I'll do is, we'll go with, in this case, inside this package one, we'll create a thread as, or create a class as thread synchronization one. And we'll create a class, let us say class name is table, and it has a method known as void print table, and it takes the parameter of type number of which the table has to be printed. So for printing table, I need a loop. So we'll go with I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10, and then I plus plus. And inside this, we'll go with the sysout as number plus multiplication sign plus I value is equal to plus, here we need one more plus, right? Okay, and then followed by number multiplied by I. So this for loop goes on printing the table. What we'll do is, we will ask the current thread to go to sleep for 1 second time interval, right? And as we know that sleep method suffers with interrupted exceptions, we'll surround it with try catch, right? So this printable, and we'll be creating two threads which will go on printing the table of their own values, right? So here I'll go with class thread 1 extends thread class, and here I'll go with class thread 2, right? But let us first write the thread 1. It will have the reference of, let us say, table T, and we'll go with thread 1 constructor as it accept table T, and we'll go with this dot T is equal to pass kiya hua T, right? Okay, and then we should write public void run, and in this run we'll say T dot print table, and here we'll try to print the table of 7. So my first thread, when it goes on executing, it will print the table of 7. Let us create one more thread. And in this case, let us change the class name as thread 2. We need to change the constructor, and here we need to just go with saying that when this will get executed, it will run the or print the table of 9, right? So two threads are ready, their classes are ready. We need to construct their objects now. So I'll go with यहाँ पे inside the main thread 1 T1 is equal to new thread 1. But before creating the thread, let us create a common object of table. Table tab is equal to new table, right? Okay, and we'll go with the thread 1. T1 is equal to new thread 1, and we'll pass this common object to that thread. Thread 2, T2 is equal to new thread 2, and we'll pass the same object, right? Now, if you observe this two line, 49 and 50, you will find that T1 and T2, both the threads are working on common objects, right? So they are going to execute their printable method in the way that they will get scheduled. So let us say T1 dot start, as well as I'll say T2 dot start, right? Okay. So let's run the code and check out. So sometimes if the T2 gets scheduled, it will execute the table 9, and if the T1 gets scheduled, it will execute the table 7, right? Okay, you may get it in not always in the same way that we have seen. Let's check it for one more time execution. And this is not the ultimate execution of the code that we wanted to go with, right? Okay, please see the weird execution here, right? Because of the scheduling policy that is used by JVM thread scheduler. So in this case, what we need to do is, अगर thread 2 schedule हुआ, तो हमको पूरा का पूरा 9 का table दिखना चाहिए. And if thread 1 gets scheduled, we should be able to see the table of 7. So here in this case, we are in need of synchronization. So ये जो common method है printable का, उसको synchronize करते हैं. Synchronize. And let's see, just by adding the synchronize keyword, it will work on the locking mechanism that we have seen in theoretical session. And the thread which is going to lock this table object, that fellow is going to execute its table first. So let's see. Okay, thread 1 got the lock of this table. So 7 ka table will get printed first, followed by 9 table. Please observe. Not necessary that every time the table 1 or the thread 1 will get scheduled. Let's check out for the another execution. Okay, in this case also table 1, sorry, thread 1 gets scheduled and it's printing the table of 7. We'll give a try for 1. You can give multiple try to see, like sometimes thread 2 also may get scheduled. One more time we'll run this. Oh, this time also thread 1 gets scheduled, right? Okay. Anyway, please give a multiple try for execution on this so that you could be able to see and analyze that multiple threads can be scheduled randomly, but once gets scheduled, it will complete its job because of the synchronize methods. Now let's see one more code about the synchronization. This one is more interesting as we go with the real life example of handling the accounts. So here we need to create the 2 threads which will be working on a common account. This particular scenario we have discussed in theory session in very much details, but through the code, let us try to understand this. So here I'll go with in this package 1, I'll be creating one more code that is a new class, and here we'll go with thread sync2, right? Now, in this case, when I go with this particular class, I'll ask this class to work as, let us say it goes on implements runnable, right? Okay, and in this case, the moment it says that it implements the runnable, it has to add the unimplemented method run. इस run में क्या लिखना है ये हम लोग बाद में तय करेंगे, right? Okay, now here we have a class account in the beginning, and in this account class, we'll have 2 issues. One is there will be a private integer balance, and let us assume that the balance is 50 rupees, right? It will have the 2 functions. One is integer get balance, getter रखेंगे इस balance के लिए, and it goes with return balance, right? Okay, and followed by this, we'll go with account में अगर withdraw करेंगे, so we'll have the integer withdrawal के लिए void, and we'll go with withdraw, and it goes with the amount, right? The amount to be withdrawn. And in this case, let's see, then the moment the withdrawal is done, the balance becomes balance minus amount. right? Okay, this is a simple class of the account handling. Now in this case, in the thread sync 2, इसके मेन मेथड में व्हाट विल डू इज, पहले दोनों भी वेरिएबल्स को, सॉरी दोनों भी थ्रेड्स को, अगर कॉमन अकाउंट को हैंडल करना है तो इस अकाउंट का हम लोगों को एक ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट करना पड़ेगा. सो विल गो विद account AC is equal to new account. So we get the one object of type account, and what we'll do is we'll go on creating the two threads. Let us say this will be a thread synchronization tool. TS is equal to new thread synchronization 2, and it can run like a thread because it implements a runnable, right? So what we'll do is thread 1 create करेंगे, thread T1 is equal to new thread, and what will pass it as a runnable as TS, right? Okay, and we'll create a thread 2, T2 is equal to new thread TS, right? Okay, and now when we go with this, in this case we'll go with, like, let's give the name to the first thread, that is Ram, and let's give the name to the second thread, that is Sham, right? Okay, and second thread ka name T2, sorry, and let's ask T1 dot start its operation and T2 dot starts it operation, right? Assume that withdrawal 10 rupees का करना है, right? So एक thread 5 बार withdrawal कर सकता है. So उसके run method में what we'll do is we will go with 5 times withdrawal, right? Okay, so inside the run method, what we'll do is we'll keep a simple for loop. Integer I is equal to 0, I less than 5, and I plus plus, right? This will run for 5 times, and in this case we'll go with the make withdrawal. Make withdraw नाम का एक मेथड रखेंगे. Make withdraw of amount, let us say 10 rupees, right? And if account dot get balance, अगर ये balance less than अगर कभी 0 हुआ, so we'll say like sys out account is overdrawn. Account is overdrawn, right? Okay, let me check. हाँ, so make withdrawal अभी method लिखा नहीं हमने, right? Okay, so run के बाद let's go on writing the make withdrawal method. So this method can be used by this. इस method से कुछ नहीं चाहिए. Make withdrawal withdraw will be the one method, and it takes integer amount, right? Integer amount. So in this case, let us say now ये थ्रेड, जो थ्रेड मेक विड्रॉवल करेगा वो पहले बैलेंस चेक करेगा, राइट? ओके, सिस आउट. सो विल गो विथ थ्रेड डॉट करंट थ्रेड डॉट गेट नेम, राइट? प्लस करेंगे एंड यहाँ पे चेक्स द बैलेंस एंड balances. So balance को भी डिस्प्ले करेंगे. balances, how to go on display the balance? AC dot get balance नाम का एक फंक्शन अपने पास है, राइट? ओके, सो नाउ उसने बैलेंस चेक करने के बाद that fellow will check if account dot get balance is greater than or equal to amount that is passed, that is अपने लिए 10 rupees है, right? Okay, then in this case this fellow wants to withdraw, so we'll say sys out thread dot current thread dot get name, right? जो भी thread होगा that fellow wants to withdraw, right? Okay, and then उसने withdrawal का decision लेने के बाद till it makes the withdrawal, there is a some time lag. So वो time lag यहाँ पे देते हैं thread dot sleep, let us say that is of 1000 seconds, and as this sleep method suffers with interrupted exception, we'll surround it with try catch, right? Okay, इतना टाइम लैग होने के बाद AC डॉट विड्रॉ, विड्रॉल करेंगे ऑफ अमाउंट 10 रुपीज, राइट? ओके, और डायरेक्टली विल गो ऑन सेइंग अमाउंट, वहां से 10 रुपीज तो यहाँ पे पास किया है, राइट? ओके, एंड यहाँ पे फिर सिस आउट करते हैं कि this thread has completed the withdrawal. So here I'll go with thread dot current thread dot get get name, thread dot current thread dot get name completes the withdrawal, plus करके will say completes withdrawal, withdrawal, right? Okay, and else अगर अमाउंट से ज्यादा कुछ बैलेंस नहीं है तो उस केस में एल्स में आएंगे, तो यहाँ पे करेंगे सिस आउट नॉट सफिशिएंट बैलेंस फॉर थ्रेड डॉट करंट थ्रेड डॉट गेट नेम टू विड्रॉ, राइट? ओके, टू विड्रॉ ये हमको स्ट्रिंग में रखना है, सो आई विल गो विद दिस. Okay, so in this case, now let's see like how this system works, right? दोनों भी थ्रेड्स है विड्रॉल के लिए मूव करेंगे, सो प्लीज सी यहाँ पे श्याम चेक्स द बैलेंस, राम भी चेक्स द बैलेंस, राइट? ओके, दोनों का विड्रॉल होने के बाद इट्स बीन डिफिकल्ट फॉर बोथ ऑफ देम टू मैनेज द बैलेंस बिकॉज उन्होंने 10 रुपीज विड्रॉल किए हैं, पर नेक्स्ट बैलेंस चेक के लिए उनको मिल रहा है 30 रुपीज. प्लीज ऑब्जर्व दिस. सो दिस इज अ वेरी मच कॉन्फ्लिक्ट एस्पेक्ट, राइट? ओके, देन दोनों ने वापस विड्रॉल किया, दोनों को ठीक है, बैलेंस मिल रहा है 20 रुपीज, राइट? ओके, this time they are happy, and one more aspect that can come here, let's go on checking it, right? Okay, and please see the overdrawn account is overdrawn, right? This situation को avoid करने के लिए हम लोगों को synchronization की जरूरत है, and obviously the main method that is going to work for withdrawal process is make withdraw, तो इसको synchronize करते हैं, right? Okay, so here I'll go with synchronize. So we'll go with the synchronize keyword, and let's see now how nicely it is going to work. So जो भी अभी बैलेंस चेक करेगा वही विड्रॉल कंप्लीट करेगा, एंड अकाउंट विल नेवर बी ओवरड्रॉन. प्लीज ऑब्जर्व दिस. Ram checks the balance again. Ram gets, Sham checks, Ram gets, Sham gets, right? Okay. And this is what the synchronization means, right? This is a very nice example of working against synchronization process, right? So now let us see that one more example about how we can proceed towards the next discussion about how the threads can interact among themselves. So interactions in thread. Create class thread A with main thread. Create class thread B for calculations, and main thread can wait for thread B to finish the calculation. And once thread B finishes calculation, it can notify it with the main, and then main thread can print the result, right? Okay, so let's see in this case how we can go on implementing this process. Very interesting one because it goes with the communication between the threads. So I'm just saying the first class is thread A, and this thread is going to work for printing the calculations, right? Okay, so and we'll go on writing one more class. Let us say class thread B extends thread, right? Okay. And obviously as it goes on extending the thread, इसके अंदर एक मेथड चाहिए run method. Let's say that ये thread B का काम है कुछ कैलकुलेशंस को एग्जीक्यूट करना एंड कैलकुलेशन का रिजल्ट जो है वो प्रिंट करेगा अपना थ्रेड है. सो हियर आई विल मेंशन इंटीजर टोटल इज इक्वल टू 0, राइट? ओके, उसको 0 इनिशियलाइज करने की भी जरूरत नहीं बिकॉज as it is an instance member, it will automatically get default value as zeros, right? Okay. So थोड़ा simple calculation रखते हैं. I is equal to 1, I less than 10 and I plus plus, right? Okay. So 1 से लेके 9 तक का एडिशन करने के लिए इसको कहते हैं. So total is equal to total plus I value, right? Okay. And we'll ask this thread to go to sleep for almost 1 second for doing this calculations for each addition. मतलब ये 10 seconds का lag create करने वाला है, right? Okay. So this is the job of the thread B. तो thread B का एक object create करते हैं. Let's say thread B is equal to new thread B, and here we'll say like sys out thread A says calculation total is, right? प्लस करके B डॉट टोटल को डिस्प्ले करते हैं, राइट? ओके. एंड इस B को हम लोग एग्जीक्यूशन उसका शुरू करते हैं B डॉट स्टार्ट से, राइट? सो द मोमेंट यू से B डॉट स्टार्ट, ये थ्रेड भी आपका कैलकुलेशन शुरू करने लगेगा एंड थ्रेड A इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर प्रिंटिंग द टोटल. सो लेट अस सी व्हाट इज हैपनिंग as both of the threads are running in parallel. ये जब कैलकुलेशन कर रहे हैं तो उस बीच में ही थ्रेड ए ने अपना कैलकुलेशंस का टोटल दिखा दिया एंड दैट टोटल बिकम्स 0, राइट? तो ये नहीं चाहिए. इन दोनों के बीच में ऐसा कम्युनिकेशन होना चाहिए कि थ्रेड ए शुड गो ऑन सेइंग दैट थ्रेड बी मैं आपके कैलकुलेशंस के लिए वेट कर रहा हूं, राइट? ओके. एंड दिस कैन हैपन विद द हेल्प ऑफ wait and notify methods which are provided by java.lang.object class. and आप थ्रेड में इंटरेक्शन तभी कर सकते हो जब उनके बीच में सिंक्रोनाइजेशन है, राइट? ओके. सो जिस हम लोगों को भी ए के थ्रू बी को सिंक्रोनाइज करना है, राइट? ओके. सो बी से अगर सिंक्रोनाइज करना है तो बी का लॉग ग्रैब करना पड़ेगा एंड विल गो विद द synchronized and here I'm going to use the block. So यहाँ पे जैसे ही B का log grab कर दिया तो यहाँ पे A thread can print like I am waiting for your calculations to finish, right? Okay. And then this says that B dot wait, right? Okay. So wait method is always suffering with unhandled exception of type interrupted exceptions. इसको surround with try catch करेंगे and जैसे ही ये नोटिफिकेशन उसको मिलेगा B के तरफ से तब जाके ये एग्जीक्यूट करेगा B डॉट टोटल, राइट? ओके. नाउ थ्रेड A के अंदर हम लोगों ने ये लिखा है B डॉट वेट. सो थ्रेड A wants to wait on थ्रेड B. जब तक थ्रेड बी से नोटिफिकेशन नहीं आएगा तब तक ये कैलकुलेशंस का टोटल प्रिंट नहीं होगा, राइट? ओके. सो नाउ एक चीज हम लोगों ने थ्योरी सेशन में देखा था सिंक्रोनाइजेशन एंड कम्युनिकेशन के लिए. जब भी कम्युनिकेशन होना चाहिए जिस लॉक को ग्रैब करके वेट कॉल किया है उसी लॉक को ग्रैब करके नोटिफिकेशंस भी सेंड करने पड़ेंगे, राइट? ओके. सो प्लीज ऑब्जर्व यहाँ पे थ्रेड बी के लॉक को ग्रैब करके हम लोगों ने वेट मेथड कॉल किया है. सो इस केस में जब भी नोटिफिकेशन थ्रेड बी की तरफ से जाएगा तो उसको भी थ्रेड बी का लॉक, इस केस में मतलब खुद का लॉक ग्रैब करना पड़ेगा, राइट? सो हाउ आई एम मेंशनिंग दैट, प्लीज ऑब्जर्व. सो हियर आई विल गो विद सिंक्रोनाइज्ड and खुद का लॉक ग्रैब करने के लिए it will use this, right? Okay. And the moment it goes on finishing its calculation it says sys out. मतलब अपना ये फॉर लूप के बाहर आने के बाद ये कहेगा माय कैलकुलेशंस आर ओवर एंड result is ready to print, right? Okay, and followed by that ये कहेगा notify. हाँ, notify जिस लॉक को ग्रैब करके वेट कॉल किया है उसी लॉक पे नोटिफाई जब सेंड होगा तो उन्हीं को नोटिफिकेशंस मिलेगा, उन्हीं थ्रेड्स को नोटिफिकेशन मिलेगा जिन्होंने वो लॉक को ग्रैब करके वेट कॉल किया है. So this is a very nice and genuine system to identify, right? Okay, now let's see like how this things works. Now thread A is saying I am waiting for your calculations to finish. Almost it takes 10 seconds के बाद B ने notification करना चाहिए. So B says that my calculations are over and result is ready to print. And उसके बाद calculation total जो है वो thread A ने किया. So ये calculation का total print करने के लिए thread A was waiting for thread 2 or thread B to provide what? Notifications, right? Okay, so this is a very simple and nice example to understand how the threads can communicate with each other, right? That's all for this assignment sessions, and you can please go with conceptual study first through the notebook and then try to understand what is happening in thread synchronization especially and thread communication. Thank you very much.